All right, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for attending our webinar on mastering client intake and a demo of Lexicata. It's a really cool tool to help lawyers and law firms manage client intake, manage their prospects, and then continue the workflow, send that data into their practice management tool like Clio to help deliver great service. So today I have Micheal Chasin of Lexicata. How's it going, Micheal?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm great. We're in San Diego. I'm in San Diego. Micheal, you're in LA?
Correct.
All right. So I wanted to give our audience an insight of Lexicata, what it does, and get to know you guys a little bit more. So first off, can you tell us a little bit of a brief background about you and what made you start Lexicata?
Yeah, for sure. So background on me, kind of born and raised in Southern California. Spent some time on the East Coast. I went to school in North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and basically kind of had a real interest in law, not necessarily practicing, but running my own business. So I ended up going to Loyola Law School in Loyola Marymount here in Los Angeles. I did my JD MBA there. And while I was in law school, I actually met one of my friends, Aaron George, is my co-founder. And basically, both of us kind of had the inkling that we didn't really want to practice. We more want to use our legal knowledge on the more of the business side of things. So we ended up starting a business, and that first business was our first company, which is Lawkick, Lawkick. And basically what that was a marketplace to connect lawyers and clients. So basically kind of like a, an Uber or an Odesk or an Angie's List type of thing, where you could basically, kind of, hey, I need legal help for this. Can someone help me? And then you get kind of like bids from lawyers. Basically, what we found out from that first business, which was going pretty well for a while, but what basically we found out was, two fundamental problems. One is that the lawyers were really bad at doing sales. So basically, they would get a lead or a prospect, and then they would do no follow-up, and a lot of these clients would just like not really be too too anxious to hire a lawyer, so they ended up kind of like dragging their feet along the process. And then what we also found out was that the clients were really unhappy with the process. I'd use the best example I always use is kind of like ordering an Uber, getting in, getting dropped off, and an Uber asking for cash. Doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're going to kind of like fix one thing, you fix the whole thing. So basically, it was just a really friction-filled process for the lawyers and for the clients. So we decided that we had to build something to help with that process. And that's kind of where Lexicata came from, is to help with the client intake and the sales and tracking and follow-up process for prospects for law firms.
Great. So it's all about reducing friction. That sounds pretty cool. And so is Lawkick still around, or did you guys wind that down?
Yeah, so Lawkick's still around. We don't work on it too much. Platforms still use, lawyers still use it, clients still come through it. Eventually, what we'll probably do is loop it back in, where Lexicata kind of integrates with Lawkick. But for now, Lexicata, we originally kind of built Lexicata to help Lawkick grow, and then Lexicata became so popular on its own that we actually rolled it out as a separate service, and now it's become so popular that we kind of focused on that. So eventually, we'll probably bring it back in the mix, but for now, Lexicata is our main focus.
All right. And when did Lexicata kick off?
So obviously kind of, complicated question because it was in the works while we were doing Lawkick a couple of years ago. And it's kind of gradually built into, kind of grown into more of a mature software. But Lexicata really has been around. We kind of came up with the idea probably about 2.5 years ago. And then we started building it, and then obviously took, 6 months to build it. Basically, we've been around for about 2 years or so.
Great. All right, and going strong. That's good. All right. Well, you're sharing your screen. Let's get into it. Can you show us what Lexicata is all about?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, first what I'll do is kind of start with a general overview just to make sure everyone kind of knows exactly what we are and what we're trying to help with. And then what we'll do is we'll walk through some of the main features and explain exactly how those work and how that's going to help the firm. So for most of your firm listeners who don't know what a CRM is a contact relationship management platform. So basically it's there to do exactly what it sounds like, to manage the relationships between you and your clients or you and your prospects. Most CRMs are used for enterprise companies, things like Lexicata, right, if we want to track all the people we're doing sales for and so on and so forth. But it's not great for law firms because they don't tend to have one, the volume to kind of justify it, and two, it's a very different sales process, right? It tends to be a lot quicker, but a lot more like labor intensive than like someone who just wants to sign up for Lexicata. So think about Lexicata as a hybrid between a CRM, contact management, as well as a client intake software. So not only do we want to help track your leads and your relationships, but we want to help intake them and convert them to new clients as well. For most people who are using case management systems like a Clio, MyCase, Rocketbat, or something like that, the easiest way to think about it is kind of like a pre-case management. Those guys manage your case, Lexicata manages the process leading up to the case, and we help with that process in three main ways. So the first way is going to be more the CRM that I was kind of describing earlier, contact management, tracking your leads, following up with people, making sure that your prospects as well as your professional relationships aren't falling between the cracks and you're nurturing things like your referral sources. And the next part of the process is more about the actual intake, getting them through the intake process. So we help with the actual workflow and managing the process, but one of the big ways that we help is with on collecting information from your prospects. So you can build your own intake forms online through our platform. You can get them filled out by clients, or you can fill it out for them as a law firm. But the best part about these forms is these actually do data entry into the system for you. And if you're a Clio user, these actually do data entry into Clio as well. So basically, you don't have to, send them a PDF, have them fill it out, and then you fill it out into your system. It'll basically streamline that process for you. And then the last part of the process is getting them signed up. So we have two features to help with the retention process. The first is going to be document automation. So you can use Lexicata to automatically generate things like engagement letters, retainer agreements, HIPAA authorization forms, those types of documents that need to be signed during the retention process, as well as actually getting those documents electronically signed online. So we have our own e-signature platform built into the system. So you don't have to sign up for anything or pay for anything, but you can get documents electronically signed online, so your clients don't have to print, sign, scan, and do all that kind of stuff. So again, like we were talking about earlier, eliminating a lot of the friction and creating efficiency within the process. What you're looking at in front of you is what we like to call your business intelligence dashboard. This is going to give you information about kind of what's going on behind the scenes. What percentage of people that come through your door end up hiring you? How much potential revenue do you have in your pipeline? Where are your leads coming from? How are those changing week to week? Completely customizable, as well as what type of matters are maybe most popular, what you're best at converting. Now, what you're looking at in front of you, what I'm about to pull up is going to be what we call your matter pipeline. Matter pipeline, if you use Trello, it's kind of like a project management board. But think about this as like your observation deck for seeing and managing all of your intake in one single place. So what's cool is you can basically create different stages of the intake process. You can have as many stages as you want, and you can custom build them so you can call them whatever you want. So each firm is going to have different stages or a different process. What's also nice is you can drag and drop people through the process, and then you can also click this I button at any time to pull up all the information that you're going to need about the system. And then last but not least, I can move this out of the way. But last but not least is going to be you can create like reasons people didn't hire you and so on and so forth. So that's like a quick little overview of how we work. Should I just jump in and kind of walk through an intake, or how do you want to do things on this?
Yeah, let's do an intake. Let's see what that looks like.
Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and do that. So basically, so we have a couple ways to start tracking people. You can either manually put them in the system, which is what we're about to do, or you can automatically pull them into the system. So just so you know, Lexicata has a number of integrations. We're not going to go through too many of them right now, but basically the integrations are great because you can have things like if you have virtual receptionist service, live chat on your website, you can also integrate your website. That way if someone contacts you through your website, it will actually pull them into Lexicata for you so you can start tracking them, which is pretty neat. So there's a lot of cool different ways that you can do that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to manually start tracking you, Andre. So basically, whenever you're ready to get started, you're going to click this. Quick intake button. Effectively, what this does is this allows you to start tracking both a potential client as well as a potential matter. Let's go ahead and start putting you in. Let's go ahead and track you, Andres. Let's say you're coming through my system. We're going to say Andres Hernandez, and then we're going to say Andres at, wingmanlegaltech.com. So we could put in your information, so on and so forth. But what you can do, what's nice about our system is we work with firms of all shapes and sizes all over the world. From China to Los Angeles, from a 100-person PI mill to a single person business transactional firm. So in order to do that, you have to be really customizable. So all these things like who they are, how they found out about you, what type of matter it is. Let's make this not a DUI or divorce, Andres. We'll be in a good mood today. We'll say business formation.
Thank you.
You can customize all these. You're welcome. So you can customize all these things to what your practice needs. What's also really one of the core functionalities of Lexicata, one of the things that we really focus on here, is going to be communication. But not just communication between you and your prospect, communication between you and your colleagues. So if you have other people in your firm, you can take notes for yourself, notes for other people. You can also assign the matter to people. So for instance, if let's say my receptionist is picking up the phone and wants me to be assigned to the case, well, Lexicata will automatically keep me in the loop about what's going on. So it'll automate the communication within the firm. You can also track people based on, value, like obviously no two leads are created equal. So if you're a business transactional firm, a client wanting to do business formation is going to be more valuable to you than a client who just wants to maybe do a simple trademark filing, right? So you want to track who the valuable people are in your system, and so on and so forth. We can do it based on, and then tracking based on location, city, county, state, courthouse, suburb, whatever you want to do. Now, when people use Lexicata, they usually describe us in a couple ways. Streamlined, efficient, automated, organized. So I'm going to show you how streamlined, efficient, automated, and organized we are, because we're going to be able to go through this entire intake process together without having to touch our keyboard the entire time. So literally all we're going to have to do is click around on the mouse, and Lexicata is going to do the rest of the work for us when it comes to like keeping track of people, and sending out forms, and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically how to get someone quickly into the system. So before we walk through the matter and the intake, let me walk through a couple pieces of the actual contact area, just to explain kind of more thoroughly what a CRM is. So with most case management systems, it's structured similarly where you have matters and contacts. But the contacts are basically just a name with some information under it. It's not that useful. Well, Lexicata, what you can do are create tags. Tags are basically labels or keywords that you can put on people that throw them into different lists or categories. So for instance, let's say I go ahead and tag you with let's say you're a big Chargers fan, right? You said you're in San Diego, so maybe I want to tag you with Chargers. Or maybe since you're, since you're obviously a tech guy, maybe I want to tag you as a tech industry person. And then maybe I want you to go into my general newsletter, so I'm going to tag you with newsletter. So there are a couple reasons why tags are so important. Number one is just kind of refresh your memory. Let's say you and I, Andres, have a consultation, and then 2 months later you email me. I'm going to be able to easily remember who this guy is. Oh, he's the Chargers fan who's in tech. What's also nice is the ability to filter. Most systems will only allow you to search contacts based on name. Lexicata, you can actually search people based on criteria, which is pretty cool. So for instance, I can come here and say, show me all of my people who are in the tech industry. And anyone who has the tag tech is going to pop up. And then I can say, you know what, only show me my current prospects who are in tech. And then a bunch of people pop up. And then I can say, only show me the ones who came from events. And then only you and Brianna pop up who fit that criteria. So filtering is really powerful. Last but not least is going to be mass emails. For people who want to do things like newsletter campaigns, like monthly newsletters, this is going to be a great way for doing it. One of the painful things about running a newsletter is that you constantly have to keep your list of people up to date. You either have one mass list where too many people are on the same criteria, or you break your list up into different lists, like for instance, one for leads, one for clients. The problem is keeping those up to date. So Lexicata is going to help you with that. We integrate with a company called MailChimp, who's the #1 email marketing software in the world. Basically, what you can do is you can set up what are called rules or triggers in our system to push people in and out of different mailing lists, depending on how you tag them. So if I tag you with tech, you might go into my tech mailing list. Or if I have you listed as a lead, maybe you'll go into my lead list. If I change you to client, you'll go into my client list. So a lot of really cool things you can do with tags and Lexicata manage people and kind of keep track of them. Any questions on tags, Andres?
No, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I think it would be cool to have that functionality to just help you remember what these people like and who they are. That's from a sales or marketing standpoint, that also helps a lot.
Exactly, and especially if you're talking about like business transactional, this client might be a client for 10 years. You want to track your whole relationship with them, or for conflicts purposes. There's a lot of benefits to doing that.
And now,
so one of the cool
now you can take me to the Chargers game too.
Exactly, right? So that's a great idea, no, but that's a great thing. Like, for instance, when we're, now that LA has like a Rams team, when for our big clients in LA, maybe if we have extra tickets, we might email our list of LA clients, be like, hey, whoever replies first gets to claim these tickets or something like that. Or we can do even a competition. Whoever sends me the most leads, I'm going to give Rams tickets to this year or something like that. So you can do some cool stuff when it comes to your professional relationships as well.
Oh, I noticed my
Now
picture.
also,
My picture popped
yep,
up.
you'll notice exactly. So Lexicata, it auto refresh. We have what's called a social media scanner. So what our system does is our software automatically takes the contact email address and searches for all social media profiles related to that person. So you notice when I put you in, Andres, the only thing I typed in was your name and email. Well, Lexicata did the rest. It automatically pulled in your picture, and it found your LinkedIn and Twitter account. So this is cool for a couple of reasons. One, if I've never met you before, Andres, it's a great way to kind of connect with you, find out a little bit about what you do, and so on and so forth. So it's a great way to find out things about birthdays, maybe common friends, where you live, so on and so forth. It's also a great way to connect with people online. So if I want to basically build my following on social media, I can easily come here and find out what you're tweeting about, maybe if we have any common friends, so on and so forth. So it's a really valuable tool to not only remember who people are, connect with them, build your social media presence, and build your relationship as well. So any questions on social media?
No, thanks for following me on Twitter.
You're welcome. So now we go. And then again, you're going to continue to see our tweets and stuff like that over time. So again, it builds that relationship. So what I did is I just changed your email so you don't get blasted with emails during the rest of this demo. You can thank me later for that.
All right.
So the next thing I'm going to show you is going to be Barton. So Barton Morris, you'll notice a couple things about Barton. Number one is social media. It automatically pulled in all of his social media, including his Facebook, in addition to LinkedIn and Twitter. Number two, and most importantly, you'll notice that Barton isn't listed as a lead or a client. He's listed as a lawyer. Remember I told you we're not just here to track your leads, but your professional relationships? Well, here you go. You can actually create your own list of contact types. So for instance, lawyer, accountant, doctor, judge, police officer, whoever it may be, whoever's going to help you maintain your practice better and build your relationships, you can track them in Lexicata as well. So, you want to make sure you're maintaining any kind of relationship, CRM, contact relationship management. You'll also notice I use tags really differently. I tagged him with a criminal, so it's not as a criminal, but an area of law. So if I ever need to send out a referral, I can easily filter my system and say, show me all of my people who are criminal lawyers. And then you'll also notice I tagged them with referral source. So I can have now a separate mailing list set up for just my referral sources. So rather than having to send a monthly newsletter to everyone, I can send a specific email to a mass number of people who fit criteria. So there's a lot of cool things you can do in Lexicata with contacts. This is just a kind of brief overview. Any questions on contacts in general, though?
No, it looks good to me.
All right, awesome. So now let's walk into the fun part of things, Andres, and this is going to be the actual intake part. So basically what we've realized after doing this for a few years is that everyone does intake differently. Not only that, but everyone does intake differently depending on what type of practice they have and what type of matter it is. So for instance, if you're a business firm, you're not going to do an intake the same way for a patent than you will for a trademark, right? Different questions, different documents. Same thing for a PI firm. For a workers' comp claim, you're not going to do an intake the same way as you will for a car accident injury. So basically, we're not going to pigeonhole these firms and tell them how to do intake. We're actually going to allow them to create their own intake process on Lexicata using what are called matter checklists, or what I like to call intake workflows. So what's cool is you could create different workflows for different types of matters or circumstances or timelines. What's also nice is they're completely customizable, but the best part is this is going to really help with organization. Remember that matter pipeline that I showed you at the beginning that's going to help you keep track of all of your intake?
Yeah.
Well, now you know each individual intake will have their own checklist to make sure everything is that you need to get done that has to get done. So let me explain how to build these checklists. There are 5 types of items you can use to construct a checklist: tasks, appointments, emails, forms, and documents. So now you can have as many of each as you want, but this is just an example of each one. So let's walk through each one in a little bit of detail to explain how these work. Okay. So the first thing is tasks. Obviously, I don't really need to explain to your people what a task is. It's just a kind of like a reminder to do something. What's nice about our tasks, you can assign them to people. So if you have multiple people at your law firm, you can assign them to your secretary or paralegal or other lawyers, whatever they may be. You can also put due dates and reminders on them. So Andres, do this by 2 p.m. today. Mike will do this by 5 p.m. tomorrow. What's also nice is whenever a task is completed, you don't have to ask each other, hey, Michael, did you ever do that task? because I could just mark it completed in the checklist, and then Lexicata will indicate that it's been completed, so that way everyone knows what has or hasn't been done up until this point in the process. That's basically how tasks work. Any questions on tasks?
Yeah, what happens when you click on view? Do you get more detail?
Yeah, it'll just basically show you like who's assigned to the task, what the due date is, and that kind of stuff. It's pretty simple. But we'll notify you through the platform that you have tasks to, and we'll also do it through email notifications and let the people know when they've been assigned to a task. We'll also let them know when a task is due. So tasks are pretty straightforward. The next thing is going to be appointment scheduling. So this is really where you're going to start to see some of the automation and efficiency start to take hold. So whenever you need to schedule an appointment like a consultation, all you have to do is click schedule. And rather than going into your calendar and manually putting in all this stuff, literally all you have to do is put in a day and time, let's say 10 a.m. on Monday morning. And Lexicata integrates with, Clio Calendar, Outlook Calendar, Google Calendar, Yahoo Calendar, you name it, we integrate with it. So it's going to automatically push this into your calendar with one click of the mouse. Now, Andreas, let me put you on the spot here and test your ethical, your knowledge of ethical rules and whatnot with the legal industry.
Okay.
What do you think is the #1 reason why clients complain to the bar, Andreas?
Communication.
There you go. You got it. You did your homework. Lack of communication. I don't hear from my lawyer. He doesn't call me back, or he doesn't let me know what's going on. So we want to make sure that your firms have the best communication possible. So we're going to do that without having to do any extra work. So remember I told you not touching the keyboard the entire demo? We click one button, and boom, we're done. Hi, Andres, your consultation is scheduled for the day and time below. So it's going to automatically confirm the appointment with the client. And keep in mind, you can have different confirmation email templates for different types of matters. So your consultation email might be different for PI clients than a business client. But we want to make sure the client doesn't just know about the appointment. We want to make sure that they actually show up to their appointment. So we can actually schedule an automatic reminder to go out, let's say, 24 hours in advance of their consultation. So literally with a couple clicks of the mouse and in less time it would have taken me to just add this into my calendar, not only did I send this to my calendar, I sent them a confirmation email and I sent them an automatic reminder email. But that's not the best part. We don't just integrate with calendar, we also integrate with email, which means the client will never see Lexicata. These emails will be coming through your email address, and the client will have no idea that you're using our system to generate these emails. That's basically how appointment scheduling works. Any questions on appointment scheduling?
Oh, that looks pretty cool. It makes it a lot easier just for the reminders. I think, like you said, helping with the lack of communication. And any lawyer that uses something like this, they're going to stand out.
Exactly. And that's a big thing, right? You're helping eliminate that #1 complaint, lack of communication. You're getting ahead of it. You're creating an amazing experience for the client, and you're creating a good experience for you. Think about how much time you save. A lot of firms already do this where they send reminders and call people. Well, now they can streamline the process along the way. So it creates just a really good experience for everyone. So you're getting those touch points at the beginning, especially during the sales and intake process. And I have a lot of firms that email me pretty consistently when they first sign up for Lexicata, be like, Lexicata is amazing. Check out this email the client just sent me, and they'll show me an email where I'll be like, hey, George or Susie, I'm going to go ahead and hire you guys. I was talking to another firm, but you just had such an easy and seamless process that I know you're going to make my life easier throughout this lawsuit or throughout this process, that I trust you to kind of make the best decisions for me. So again, it's kind of creating that trust and that closeness at the beginning.
That's great.
Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to email. So this is personally one of my favorite parts. So when I was practicing, one of the most frustrating things for me, Andres, was I felt like I was drafting the same stupid emails. Every business owner or person in business or law kind of feels the same way, drafting all the same emails over and over. This is how much I charge. This is what my scope of services include. Here's how to get to my office, or here's what to bring my appointment. So we want to make sure that you streamline that process and you never have to waste your time drafting the same email twice. So basically what you can do is you can build email templates in our system. So for instance, let's say client says that you don't show up to our appointment that we scheduled on Monday. Well, I don't have to draft an email from scratch now. I can basically have an automatic email pop up. I can also do a follow-up email, or my personal favorite, client owes me money. Hey, Andres, where's my money? I need my money. So you can set up whatever type of email template that you want in the system, which is not only going to streamline your process and make it really fast and efficient to draft emails, but think about it. Now you don't have to recreate the wheel every time. You have that perfect sales email, especially if you have staff members. Now you don't have to worry about, are they saying the right things, because it's already basically set up for them and you can customize it further. but what's really good about that. So is this a feature that you think would help you in your practice, Andres?
Yeah, it would. I send a lot of the same emails. I get into that as well. It would
Yeah,
help.
it gets super repetitive, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple other features that are good with emails that help with communication. You can have two options for sending emails. You can either send it now or you can schedule it for later. So for instance, this was really helpful around the holiday time. So for instance, if you know a client's out of town or traveling during the summer, we don't necessarily have to email them right now. You can have it go out when they come back to town, let's say next Wednesday. You can also schedule them far in advance if you want. You can also have emails set up in your checklist. So for instance, if you always send a thank you note to the client, ready to go, you don't have to think about it. It's already ready to go. And then last but not least is going to be drip marketing. Andres, I'm sure you know all about this as like a tech and marketing person, but basically drip marketing is a series of automated emails that you can set up in Lexicata. So it's great for a couple of reasons. One, let's say a client that comes into my appointment, right? So we do our consultation together on Monday, Andres, and then you decide not to hire me. Not because you don't like me, but just because you don't hire a lawyer. Well, I don't want to just rely on you to follow up with me and hire me eventually. I want to basically push you to hire me and do that, down the road. So basically what I can do is I can set up a series of 5 automated emails that always go out to a prospect if they don't hire me in the consult. Hey, 1 week later, hey, Andres, just want to send you some blogs that I thought might be of interest to you. 2 weeks later, hey, Andres, just want to see how things are going. I know we kind of left things open-ended. What are you thinking? A month and a half later, hey, Andres, I know it can be a really tough decision to hire a lawyer, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of basically set up automated follow-ups. Another great example is getting existing clients to hire you. So let's say you're an estate planning lawyer. I do your will, Andres, right? I don't want to forget about you. There's a lot of repeat business there available, so I want to follow up with you a year down the road, and I can have an automated email go out. Hey, Andres, it's been a year since we did your will. I'm sure you've had kids or bought a house or done something different with your life. Let's make sure that we keep your will up to date. Let's hop on a quick 10-minute phone call. Don't worry, it's free. Obviously, I look all altruistic and friendly because I'm giving you a free consult. But at the end of the day, I want you to rehire me to adjust your will. Right? So you can do that with referrals, checking in with people, just building those relationships over a lifetime rather than just servicing them for legal services and then forgetting about them completely. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do with emails. Any questions on email?
Yeah, technical question. So let's say you have a group, your law firm, you have 5, 10 people, and you have different users in Lexicata. When they send the email, who is the email from?
Yeah, so each user, and it's a good question. That's one of the reasons why each user is going to have their own license or login, is because each user will be able to sync their own calendar and email. So whoever initiates the email sequence is going to be able to have it go out through their account.
Got it. All right.
So for instance, if you have 2 lawyers, Jim and Bob, if Jim is working on client X and Bob is working on client Y, client Y is not going to get an email from Bob. He's only going to get an email from Jim because he doesn't know who Bob is.
Perfect. And then
Okay.
each user can have their own email templates as well?
Exactly. They can have their own email templates. You can share them across the firm so everyone can kind of coordinate together. And then they can have their own email sequences. So they can kind of set up whatever they want. They can have their own checklists and all that kind of stuff.
Great. That looks good.
All right, cool. All right, perfect. So let's move on. So this is more the nitty-gritty heavy lifting for most people's intake process, which is going to be the intake forms and getting your client signed up. So a couple of things that are cool about the intake forms is we have our own form builder on here. So you can basically build whatever you want. This could be an intake form. You can use this post-retention, pre-retention, pre-consultation, post-consultation, whatever you want to do. What's also nice, you can build different forms for different purposes, right? One for a different matter, one for business, one for, employment, whatever it may be. What's also nice, you can get these filled out in different ways, depending on the client or the firm. So do you want the client to fill it out? Do you want to send it to them? Do you want the firm to fill it out, maybe like on the phone or during a consultation, or do you want your client to fill it out while they're sitting in the waiting room getting ready for your appointment? So for most firms, they use the send feature. Now the fill out's pretty straightforward. It'll just allow the firm to fill in the information for them. But let's go ahead and go through the send process. So again, really nice. It automatically generates a letter for you. So again, remember we haven't touched our keyboard the entire demo. You can have different email templates set up for different types of forms. So there's different information or different things that are all customizable for each practice area or matter. You can also have automatic reminders. So what's nice is rather than sending out like a PDF or a Word doc or just an email to send back answers to questions, you can basically create a hyperlink that's trackable. What's also nice is they can set up automatic reminders for these tracking. So if the client hasn't filled out the form 24 hours before their appointment, we can have an automatic reminder go out to them. Hey, Andres, you haven't filled out your form. Obviously, again, these emails are coming from your firm, and obviously if the client filled out the form before the reminder date, the reminder gets canceled. And again, if you have multiple people in your firm, it's going to help you keep track of what's going on, so it's going to be marked as pending so everyone in the firm knows what's going on. Now let's go ahead and check out what the intake form looks like. Really customizable, completely, you can completely control what they look like, what they say. It's going to have your own firm's logo and letterhead, so you can customize this in your settings. It's also going to be encrypted and secured, so it's more, secure the data than like a PDF or a Word doc or something like that. What's also nice is your client can fill this out on anywhere, on any device. Phone, tablet, or computer, no downloading or printing, no apps, nothing like that. Now watch how easy this is. All the client has to do is fill out their information. And then what's nice is you can create different sections to the form, questions about you, questions about your company. You can create tips. You can create different types of questions, checkbox, multiple choice, drop downs, all that type of stuff. You can also have what are called smart questions in here, like do you have partners? If they have a partner for their business and they click yes, you'll notice I have a couple follow-up questions. If they say they don't have a partner, you'll notice there are no follow-up questions. So you can actually have what are called conditional logic or smart questions. You can also have like file attachment requests. They don't have to attach things separately or print them and bring them in. They can actually attach them here. But here's the best part, especially for a Clio user. Basically, what you can do is you can link up fields in Lexicata and Clio to fields on your form. So whenever a form is completed, it actually is going to do data entry into Lexicata and or Clio for you. So let me give you two examples, occupation and date of birth. So occupation, we're just going to go ahead and say, legal tech, consultant for you. And then you don't have to give me a year, Andres, but what's your birthday?
September 25th.
All right, 25th?
Yep.
All right, we're going to make you a baby. We're going to say you're turning 21 this year.
All right.
But basically, and happy almost birthday. It's coming up in a little bit. So here we can click Save Progress, or we can click Submit. Watch when we click Submit. Remember, Andres, what you said was the #1 complaint, lack of communication?
Yeah.
Well, here we go. A copy got automatically emailed to the client along with a thank you note from the law firm. In addition to that, a copy got automatically emailed to the law firm, letting them know, hey, Michael, Andres just submitted his form. You notice that this is marked as submitted in the checklist. This is marked off as completed. So now we're almost done with the intake, just about a minute or two more. And then you'll notice over here, this is what the form looks like when it's completed. Really easy to read. You don't have to worry about people's handwriting or anything like that. Stores all the information. You can download a copy if you want, but here's the best part, Andres. Remember when we first added you into the system, all we put into Lexicata was your name and email, right?
Yeah.
Now check this out. The client on the intake form did all the work for us. All the contact information was automatically populated, as well as remember those two fields I told you we hooked up, occupation, date of birth. Well, those got automatically populated into the system. So slightly better than using like a Word doc or a PDF, because not only does it do data entry for you, better experience, better follow-up, better tracking, better organization, just better overall experience for both sides of the coin, the lawyer and the client. So that's basically how intake forms work. Any questions on the form system?
Yeah, that's great. And I also noticed that when you created the form, it already had some of my information in it, right? So
yep.
If you already have the info in it.
If you've been through the system, yeah, it'll auto-populate like, the contact information. So for instance, if I were to send you another form right now, because this is all filled out now, the entire contact information sheet would have been filled out, and then they could update it, and it'll update Lexicata for us.
That's cool. I like that.
All right, so any questions on forms?
No, it looks pretty straightforward.
Okay, awesome. Now, last thing I'm going to touch on before we finish up with documents is going to be an email tab. You notice every contact, whether they're a lead, client, or lawyer, has what's called an email tab. Basically, what this is going to do is it's going to show you all future emails that are scheduled to go out in case you want to cancel them or whatever it is. And then you'll also notice over the last 12 minutes, it's been automatically pulling in all email correspondences between you and I, Andres. So basically what this is going to do is moving forward, any email